Oh. Okay, we are live. Okay. The expletives. Okay, we're here for a Curriculum and Learning Committee meeting. It's Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024 at the School District of Menominee Falls. There's a possibility that a quorum of the full membership of the Board of Education may be in attendance at board committee meetings, including virtual meetings. There will be no full board action taken at any board committee meeting. Only members of the committee may vote on any item on the agenda. A live broadcast will be streamed on the school district YouTube page. To watch the recorded meeting, please visit SDMF YouTube site, and we're at the School District of Menominee Falls Conference Rooms, 3344 and 3345 on Pilgrim Road. The meeting is called to order at 6:01. And it was properly posted?
Yes.
Okay, so now we'll move into minutes approval. Everybody get a chance to look at the minutes?
I did. I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I can second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And moving right along, action items.
Yes,
Okay.
we have two action items on the agenda. The first one is a new world language field trip proposal, and I'm going to
Okay.
request that we table that item
Okay.
for tonight. In doing some work in preparation, I realize we've got a little more work behind the scenes to do to make sure that we're ready for that. So that would be my request at this time. I think this trip is still definitely a possibility, and so we'd look to bring it forward later on this spring.
Yeah, I had some questions and so about certain aspects and I know you did too. Is that okay?
So if there's
to-
anything specific to, just let me know
Okay.
and we can prepare,
Sure,
but
to email you maybe?
yeah, for sure, that
Okay.
would be great.
So we need to make a motion to table it?
If you would,
Okay.
please.
I just wanted to clarify, so if we're actually tabling it due to Robert's rules, would it be actually automatically be on the next board?
Or can we set a date?
Is that a little bit looser or?
Indefinitely.
If you table it, it sits on the table and you can bring it back anytime. You
Okay,
can also table it and bring it back at a specific time.
Yeah,
That's,
can we,
I wasn't
can we
sure, like,
specify or should we not?
Per committee versus, same board, so, okay.
So should
I'll
we
make a
specify?
motion to table.
Okay,
Okay, I'll second that.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Okay.
that works?
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Sure.
So table till spring, you said?
Next year?
Yeah, okay. I know our April 17th meeting agenda is pretty full.
Yeah.
So I would look to probably the May meeting. I know that date is still to be determined.
Yeah.
So that's
I
not
just
a
wanna put it.
guarantee that I'm sure that we will have a meeting at least once in May.
Yes.
So.
We love our meetings,
We
right?
do, we've got a lot going on.
Yes.
That's all good.
That is if you're just.
Oh, sure. Okay, so, yeah, I will beg. Okay, so the next item, education for employment, E4E and ACP plan.
So I think I mentioned earlier this year as we were thinking about upcoming pieces that we'd be bringing to the committee, I shared that DPI has a requirement that every school district has an education for employment, or what they term E4E,
Okay.
and then an ACP plan, which is an academic and career planning plan. And in meeting with folks from CISA 1 who represent the work on the state level, we learned that we did have an ACP plan that has been in place for a long time, but like some of our neighboring districts, we did not have a formal E4E plan in place. And so we put a team together and met for the first time to pull what we have in place into a formal plan, and we got a format, a template of the required pieces from DPI and CISA 1. So what we have tonight, Lisa Kiefer here, our high school academy school career coordinator, and Dan Gebauer, our high school principal, who have been a part of the team. This was a very large team, and you can see the names of the folks who participated in our kind of first attempt to pull all this together. And so there is an expectation that we have a board approved plan moving forward. I think we fully recognize that this is our first draft, and so it's been a good experience just pulling everything together, and now it'll be an opportunity for kind of us to tweak and continue to add things moving forward. So our first attempt is not our last attempt, but it was a good process to come together. Some of the pieces that we have are new for me, being fairly new still. So I'm excited to have Dan and Lisa here tonight and to talk a little bit more about the process. And then also to look for your approval moving forward, and then it would be on the future board kind of consent agenda, which then would be the formal board approval. And we'll continue then to update the plan and find ways to refine as we move forward.
Alright, so one of the things that I think that most people are gonna understand is that it's a constantly changing document.
Okay.
Because if it's academic and career planning, things don't just stand still, like we have to keep up with what is changing, whether it's technology or could be different careers that are up and coming. And so I always, I think, yes, they want these board approved, but it's like it's not gonna just sit there and not, so it is gonna be something that, we will have to kind of revisit and maybe tweak it as we go through or add new experiences for students.
How often would you tweak, like check on it or like?
So I would say at least annually,
Yeah. Okay.
at a minimum annually.
And I would
This would
just
be a
say,
new kind of a
like a
new
living
habit or new
document,
process
but
that
yeah.
we're building in. Yeah.
like for example, we're doing this all school career day, so that would be something new, so if something came up like that, well, definitely you'd wanna have that in if the intent is like you wanna keep doing that. So I would think that would be something that you would just have, updates on. So I kind of was like, yes, let's have this approved, but to me, it should be like a living document, like
Right,
it's always
exactly.
there to update, so but I'm not exactly sure what the formal
Yes,
term
Yeah.
is for
we'll have
you
to
know.
kind of keep thinking about that. My guess is because this is something new, that at a minimum, we would bring it back next spring
Okay.
for you to kind of be aware of the changes and tweaks that we're making as we go.
Well, and even with the career readiness data, like that has to be updated always from WISE-, so that's why I'm like, this can't just be a
Set in time document.
right, because if you're gonna update that every year with the new numbers for how many CTE participants you had, what concentrators you had, you'd have to make edits to
Right.
it, so.
So, and we bring that data on an annual basis anyway, so maybe we
Right.
just need to bring that all together at the same time, so.
And I would think too, like there's that section, that student success stories,
Yeah,
we were trying to limit it, so we, it's like, you mean we can only have like this box?
Yeah.
Because there's just so many, so, that would be something like we'd wanna always change that up when there's new things that come in.
One piece that we've talked about too is how do we get more data on how our students are doing after high school too, so that's part of what I would say is gonna be continuing work on this. I think it's the one piece that we're really missing right now that tells us how successful we are regarding what we're doing. Cause like, when you look at this document, I mean, it was fun to be in the committee because it shows that we do offer a lot of different things. But the big question is how impactful is that with our students?
And the follow-up data, we do get that through CISA 1. We always have to do a postgraduate report and have parents, or if we have the seniors' emails before they left, we can send it, but they verify them like 1 year out of graduation, but that's only like if they're a concentrator. So if they have set in a pathway and they've taken 3 classes or more in that area, then we would say that that's their career pathway. Then we wanna find out a year out, are they still in that pathway? But we do that with just the career and technical concentrators, so we wouldn't have that, with all students in our, in our buildings, so, but that's just something that they do for CTE, but I think
that might be something we would maybe wanna develop
Our
district-wide.
school counselors do, or verify post-secondary plans with almost all of our high school seniors at 98%. Last year, they're hoping to be 98% or higher again this year too. So, when our students leave, we know what they're doing, but obviously we wanna verify that that continues on, or if it changes, what does it change to and why, so.
I think that would be an important statistic to have, is like 1 year out, maybe 4 years
Yes.
out, to see if the career path that they chose, let's just say in regards to college round, if that's actually what they ended up being in. Because I know stats show that, I think about half of the students actually are not actually working in the field that they studied, so that's gonna be.
If you can get a parent to
Right.
answer a
Fill it out
survey
5
4
years
years
later,
out.
that would be, and it's not even after you graduate, that's after they've stayed in their career too for a while, you know, that's.
It's really great information.
I mean, I would.
I fill out a lot, I really don't know if I would jump on that one if because they're older, but, yeah.
I mean, it would be such good information, wouldn't it?
So I wanted to ask, when you said with the DPI requirements on the heading here, the career readiness, and then also to the student survey, that's actually the DPI requirement that you have to fill in?
Yes, each of these components, if I remember correctly, is the blue, like those are all pieces that are part of the required components. So we kept their template pretty close to make sure that we were hitting each of the requirements, because then we will submit this to them.
That this was their requirements, because the template, all we did was fill in
Yeah.
each of those areas.
What we're
What you're
doing
yes.
and then.
Right.
Again, as a first starting place, we wanted to make sure we didn't miss anything so that when we submit this to them, we're good to go. And then we can always expand and add to it, but we need to make sure we have those required components. We are not the only, I've learned we are not the only district working on this. So, yeah, everybody's making sure their
I thought we
plan
were
is up to date. No, we're all working on it.
What
I've
is going on?
started to see more and more plans from other districts, so.
Schools are ours, right?
They're all different, but they all have the same components. But I think for me, this really highlighted that we do have a lot of things going on, even though we didn't have a formal plan in place. There are a lot of really good things happening.
Right.
And beyond just high school too. There are some middle school pieces and some elementary pieces, and thinking about students in all different stages of their educational journey and with all different needs and kind of focus areas, so.
So that's why I was gonna ask you the part here, because I was thinking in my head that when I was looking through this document here, the career readiness, everything primarily focused in on 9 through 12, and that made sense to me, and then a little bit of like the middle school. I was kind of like taken aback to see the elementary part in here. The career readiness activities.
Yes,
So
K through 5.
yeah,
yeah, like our fifth graders go to BizTown, for example, part of our social studies curriculum, that's a career readiness piece. Yeah, they talk about,
Oh, I
they
didn't
talk
see
about
it here,
careers.
that's why I was,
Oh, you didn't see it here?
no, I didn't see the BizTown here.
I don't know
So
that
that's why
that
I
was specifically mentioned, but
add it.
there's always gonna be more to add for sure,
Yeah.
but like the ACT.
That's a good one,
No,
actually.
you know
School
what,
count,
it
the
might be
career
on the
so-
link.
Or in the link.
You bet
There's
it's
one
in
of
the
them
link.
that's
Yeah.
Yes, cause I was like, I know I've seen it somewhere.
Yeah, it is on the
So
link.
yes, if you click on the,
Yeah, like
here
you
I
can
just clicked
itemize
on the ACP, so you can see Riverside and Valley View, like fifth grade BizTown, job and careers, you know,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
yeah, it kind of gives you that same starting point and you just have to scroll down a little
Yeah.
bit, yeah. So one of the things that kind of got my attention with that though is with using this Zello portal, right, it's online and
Bring it up all the way.
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
The back.
are we,
Oh, no, I was talking,
Mm-hmm.
okay, yeah, that's fine.
oh, I was talking about like the elementary
Oh,
age
the left, okay.
just that.
and how it like incorporates with
Oh, okay.
that.
If you scroll down,
Um,
there's sixth grade, but I'm missing.
Mhm.
Let's see here, so I'm trying to,
It was also in the plan
Why
as
can't
well.
I find that?
you just scroll
So,
down,
yeah, this
it's the link.
link is, if you look
I know, but I
at,
feel like, oh, and then I have to move over or something, cause
You should.
It's right here under ACP Curriculum Support Services.
Okay.
There are 2 links, K through 5 and 6-12, I think,
clicked the K through 5 and it just goes up to the.
and then you just have to scroll
All I have is high
down.
school.
You have to scroll down.
Yeah, keep
Oh,
scrolling
scroll down, sorry.
Mhm.
My
It was
brain
all
is
in the
not all
same
intact today.
document, so we
Oh,
just,
that's why.
Oh, yeah, because I thought it was just like
Yeah.
one page, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, there are, it's all there,
That's why I didn't
so.
see it.
I think these are pieces that have been in place for several years, so I think there's an opportunity coming up with with some counseling curriculum review to kind of continue to update this. But this again was our starting point, and if you remember too, we did not have this on our kind of tasks for things we were gonna work on this year. So we added it in, but
Sure.
did not have quite the dedicated time that we initially had planned to do.
Yeah, so the question I had was regarding, I know in here, it looks like it starts in the middle school, 6th grade. With that Zello, the website where they kind of go in and they're inputting their information, what their interests are, and they kind of generate like a pathway that might be beneficial to them. What are the security things set up around that? Because I know it's with a lot of the websites that you're using, it's like a 13-year-old or younger, like there's special permission from parents, and how does that work with, are we currently using that in our elementary schools, or does that start in
It starts in middle school.
Okay.
Zello starts in middle school, and so I'd have to talk to Troy about kind of those type of
Just making sure that we're
security pieces.
keeping our students' information, because that's they're inputting a lot of personal information in there, and making sure that that's secure. And that was, just kind of glancing through here, because I jumped on then Zello's website and was trying to find out, what they do for elementary, and it's a broken link in there. I couldn't get very far, and that's nothing that you
So,
can.
and we
Yeah.
don't use Zello at elementary, but we do
Okay.
use it at middle school, and it is provided to students across the state.
right, that
So
is,
it's a DPI provided piece for students.
Is this the only option?
So we use, that's free, so we use Naviance at high school. I don't believe we've explored using Naviance at middle school.
But there's nothing else besides Zello?
That's provided by DPI.
Yeah, that's available for them for like,
At this point, yes.
okay, we have to use the DPI?
No,
but it's
we don't
free.
have to, but it's free. So that's
free,
what the
so
middle
that's
school
what's
has been used to
pretty
using,
much
and that's
promotion
it's pretty
and-
common for districts to do. It is more uncommon in my experience for districts to purchase, like we have Naviance at the high school. Most often districts are using Zello.
And then what was our reason for purchasing Naviance? What is the benefit that you?
That one preceded me, so I
Yeah,
don't-
preceded
Oh,
me, it's
okay.
been
Oh,
around
okay.
for a long time, but or very
Just
early
curious.
on.
Counselors
in the-
prefer it to
Yeah.
Zello, they believe that it's more robust.
And
Okay.
now they have a lot of historical data in Navia, in that system, so we continue to purchase it. There was not a desire to
That
switch,
makes
so.
sense.
Is there like ever a time where we can consider like options? Cause sometimes when you're used to using a software, there might be something else out there that might be more beneficial if we've ever entertained that idea. That's why I'm just asking.
Yeah, so
I
I
know that-
think there definitely could be,
Yeah.
so and that would be one of the things that I'm thinking ahead to is I've been talking with the counselors a little bit about their standards, at their professional standards, and how,
I think
I
that
think
would be
we're
a
due
good
to be a
presentation,
refresh,
actually, like something to.
and so I think there's an opportunity with that to kind of look at some of these ACP things and then supporting
Yeah.
pieces, so that might be a piece of it.
So I would be open to having them see if there is anything else and if they can research they may prefer, because sometimes we're just, stuck with the same thing and you just, again, you don't know what may be out there that might benefit them and that's why I had asked about Zelle. I know it's free, I get it, it's free, but if there could be something else for our younger kids that would benefit them, our superintendent's sitting right there, that could possibly,
So
consider
I
that.
think so, I would urge us to do that as part of kind of that curriculum renewal
Yeah.
cycle,
So I'm just posing it out there,
yeah,
that just
for
because
sure.
it's free,
for sure, but
I
counselors have already started
yeah,
talking
I
about
get
that a
it,
little
but
bit,
if
so.
there could
Okay.
be something else that would benefit our students better and for us, that we could entertain that idea of investing in it, like we did with Navient or
I
something.
haven't heard that desire, but we will definitely add that to
Change
the
is
list.
good sometimes. I just figured, you know.
Sometimes,
yeah.
But sometimes, you know, like,
Sometimes that's
I'm
much.
just kinda curious about it,
But I'm
like
just thinking
knowing
like
more
with
about
free
what
software,
they,
free
how they
programs,
use it.
there's probably limited things that they will offer, so if it's something we purchase, obviously we would have more robust information.
And I would also think starting in middle school is probably applicable, if there's a cost to a different program, obviously exploring that and the application that they would find helpful.
I just think it's open to see if there's anything out there that would benefit our students.
as long as the superintendent says there's money, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, you don't wanna create, money
Well, but I
or
think that's,
needs
that's what I'm just
necessarily,
saying,
but
it's like,
it's worth reviewing.
And
I think
yes.
it's worth entertaining to have that conversation if it can benefit our students.
Well, and if Naviance is being used in the high school, I mean, maybe it does make sense to keep it uniform. If they prefer that at the high school level and they have it available for middle school, it might be a more seamless transition. And
Is Naviance available for
It is, yeah, when I worked in Elmbrook, I believe they had it, and then the state had the ECT requirements, and that's why Zello came to be free. It's not free, obviously, but the state purchases it and we could use
I
it.
mean, that's an idea too, would be like Naviance to have it in the middle school also.
Well, and then
At the
maybe
high
there's
school
some
level.
historical data.
There could be,
translation
and some
there
things
too
could
that might-
transfer,
yeah.
yeah, with the career
Yeah.
cluster.
But I think
I don't know, I
definitely
have
be-
not asked the counselor, so
I remember that, it communicates better with colleges, so kids can send their letters of recommendation and stuff through them. I think that was one of the bigger pieces as to why the high
Okay.
school kept Naviance, so like.
And it seems like it's a power school, is it a power school module?
Naviance has some connection to Power School,
It's good
yeah.
connection.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I think it's worth a conversation to see if there's something else that they, appreciate or look into. That's what I think.
So this is an action item.
This is an action item, we are looking for initial approval of our plan, knowing that it really will be something that we'll continue to tweak and bring through on an annual basis. Probably we'll kind of have to figure out how to make that work, because we do bring other career data during the year, so moving forward, we can probably mesh those two things together, so.
But this is very well done. I mean, there's so much information in this document. I can tell that there's been a lot of hours spent here.
Lisa
and
really did a
Lisa
nice
drove this
job
work.
with facilitating
Very well
all of
done.
us and doing this work, and she's represented us this year in the CISA One network that focuses on this area, so is really bringing the latest information to us. So I appreciate her leadership in that area, because that really was the driver behind getting all of this
Yeah,
this
thank you.
done,
I
again, in something we weren't really planning on doing this year. So I know we're busy with
Heard about
curriculum, but here we're gonna do this too, because we wanna stay on the good list and
Yeah.
make sure we can check off our plan.
I wonder too, now this is weird, like it's almost like custodial of the document, like if you can, like if you add things new, like it's, or somehow you probably keep note of that, like what you added, like how we do policies, that like we added new things and so that's more highlighted, but I mean, for the document, you probably don't need it for the state like that, but just so we know what was added, what was changed, comparison, or you have the old document and the new or whatever.
Well, and what we could do is, cause like if this becomes like approved by the
Yeah.
board, then, that's published, but we would still have our working document.
True, yeah,
So we can always make,
like a,
or
the old
even
versus
just,
the new.
right, or just, rename, like it was, we have ECP plan, which is our first one, and what we could just have,
There you go.
revisions
Yeah.
for the next year,
Yeah, I like that idea, just so there's some comparison.
So, and we will find a spot on the website for this, not exactly
That's
sure
just
where that's
bring
gonna
up-
be,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we're gonna find it.
Oh,
It gets brought
like
up
on
just in
district-
committee though, right?
Pardon?
It just gets brought up in committee.
It'll get brought up in committee, yes, and then it'll
The
be on the
consent.
consent agenda, and that we'll consider that our formal board approval then.
So, do we
Yes.
have a motion?
You'll wanna find
Or
a spot.
questions answered and everything?
that people can easily have, because I'm sure people have been waiting.
Draft.
So we have a motion from Nina. Sarah?
I'll second.
Or I could too, I guess. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank
Pass
you
that.
very much.
Thank you so much, thank you.
Thanks for all that work.
Thank you, Lisa and Dan, for that.
Alrighty, moving right along. What is next? Do I feel like this is, Amy, what's next?
Two discussion items.
That's it?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, I have the wrong page, I'm sorry. You can just tell me.
Okay, so.
Phoenix time, sorry, I
North-
didn't look at the bottom of the other.
Yeah, we're gonna go to North Middle School math.
I'm like, what are these people here
program
for?
update
No.
next. They're for a lot of different things, so I will.
It's just for fun, right?
Yeah, no, they were
You wanted to come here for
more
fun.
Because, as I think somebody called us before, we are the Circle Back Committee. If you remember last spring,
Yeah.
we made some changes to our math pathway at the middle school.
Oh, yeah.
We promised to
Oh,
come
yeah,
back
yeah, I skipped the
and
math.
give us to get an update on how that is going, and I wanted you to hear directly from the team at the middle school. So Barb Luera, our math curriculum chair, and Terry Cobras, our middle school principal, are here
Awesome.
tonight, and have a brief update for you on our math. Those math sequence changes, so I will turn it over to them. They've done a lot of hard work since our last meeting around this work.
So, our first slide is just a reminder of what those pathways switched to. So we added in, previously, all 8th graders took algebra, and we've kept algebra as an option for students in 8th grade to take, but we've also added an 8th grade math. There's a number of reasons why. So we've added some on-tracks for our students to be able to move into that accelerated pathway, so that they can make sure that they're still able to take that algebra in 8th grade if that's what they wish. We also found some opportunities for students to pump the brakes a little bit. Our students in 4th grade decide if they want to move into accelerated math, and at times we're finding families and students didn't really understand the implications or feel ready for the implications that means for high school math course selections. And so we've provided some opportunities for students to say, you know what, maybe taking calculus isn't the path that I need to be on, and we know that middle school is an interesting time of life and different things can come up. So we've added in some off-ramps for our students too, which I think is great. The next piece, I thought you guys would be interested in how the actual numbers are playing out for this course selection. So we talked about, when we brought this to you all before, what our percentile recommendations would be for students to enter into the different 8th grade math courses. So that geometry path is really determined early when students hop into that either 7th, the consolidated math course early on, as well as they can get in when they do the consolidated 7th, 8th in 6th grade.
They can't hit geometry as 8th graders unless they grade skip in 5th grade, but the consolidating 7-8 allows kids that didn't get on that grade skip track to get to algebra as 8th grade students. So our only students in geometry are the ones that were identified in elementary school to be on that track.
So looking at our success rates of our students in those classes in the past, we set those percentile ranks, and that's largely based on our students' math results. Now we know that math results is one measure of a student, it's not a comprehensive picture of a student. So the teachers also, and this was, I just think that this is a key shout out to the professionalism of Barb as well as the math team. I don't know that I've worked with many educators that dove into the level that they did to identify the key skills and then the key assessments that students need to be successful on to predict their success in algebra and geometry. And we're still refining those areas and what the look-fors are and our recommendations for families. But then each family, based upon the student's last math assessment. So that happens in spring, late May. And then we send to our families the recommendations, here's the different look-fors that we have. And then we give families voice and choice to say, you know what, we understand the recommendation, but we would prefer this pathway or another pathway. So it does put a lot on our system of our teachers getting at data so late, making sure it's personalized to our families, adjusting our class schedules and things like that, but it was really essential to us to make sure that we're responsive to where our kids are at that moment in time, as well as that family voice and choice is involved in the process and procedure. So I feel really good about the way that we get the kids to the different places. Like I said, I think we're learning this year as well of there are some students that maybe like the option of them being in algebra is not working out as positively as they had hoped, and that's informing us as well. So helping us to really refine what those like recommendations look like. So then our current students, so in the past, there was 20% of our students that were on that geometry path, and this year it's 12% that are there. That would largely be a reflective number based upon that group in 5th grade, so I don't really understand why that number is so different than it was last year. But apparently last year it was just a big group. And then so that algebra, we have 36% of our students are taking algebra in 8th grade this year. And then this year we have 52% of our students that are taking 8th grade math. So all of those students would have been in algebra last year.
Right.
So then, moving on, there's some data from math to show. Now, I don't mean to imply that, like the data is positive. And I don't mean to imply making one course sequence change in 1 year created this huge upswing for our students. But I also think it's a really positive note that the change I think is positive, and I do think it would be, I don't know.
Unfair to not show it.
Right,
Yeah.
and unfair to say like this
It
didn't
could-
have
that it
something
didn't have
to do
some
with it.
effect.
Yeah. So you'll be familiar with this from the North's update that we shared at the school board update.
Mhm.
So that star is where, hold on, I gotta blow it up because I can't see it.
Mhm.
I haven't put on my reading glasses. Okay, the yellow triangle is the projected growth and the bar graph represents our growth. So the top graph represents our growth for this school year and the bottom graph represents our growth for last school year. And I grabbed winter to winter for both, so it's a similar time frame for both of them. So obviously we're seeing some accelerated growth from our students. It's interesting to note that it's not just 8th grade accelerated growth, but that's where I would say the most
It's not harming
significant,
us.
yeah, the most significant change happened.
Oh,
Yeah.
finish your thought, but like it just, from the last presentation, I meant to ask, and you probably answered it last time, but I need a refresher. Why would the projected growth for the 6th grade be so low? Like what determines, I guess, why is that?
That's nationally normed.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that, yeah.
So often what happens is the math test, there's a 2nd grade through 5th grade
Mhm.
math test, and there's a 6th grade plus math test.
Okay.
So often what happens between when students are taking that early in 6th grade is they're taking a test based on content that they sometimes haven't been exposed to
Okay,
yet.
got it.
So we often see, and nationally normed, there's a smaller amount of growth
Mhm.
between the end of 5th grade or mid-5th grade and 6th grade. And that's
Okay.
it is common to see that.
Okay.
So we talked about how growth was a really focus at North for this school year, but it's important for us to look at proficiency rates as well. So the next chart shows our proficiency rate again on math for just 8th grade from last school year to this school year. So the top graph is this school year and the bottom graph is last school year. And you're gonna see the average percentile for our students went up 1 percentile from 64th to 65th. But what I really like about this graph is it shows how so many more of our students are trending towards that proficient mark. Like it's really visual about how this group of students are doing much better in proficiency ratings. And again, this was winter to winter for both years. So then the most important slide and the most important person here is Barb's gonna talk about like why we made the changes and then like how those changes feel in the classroom with the kids.
So historically, when we met last year, I shared this big document of all the 8th grade skills that we just didn't teach with our our curriculum previous to EdGEMS and adopting EdGEMS. And so we had a ton of missing standards. And ultimately, one thing that we're noticing this year is with our EdGEMS textbook in 8th grade, we're gonna get through almost all of the 8th grade standards. I know in a year, it's not possible to hit everything, but we are really well paced this year to actually teach most of the content. And with most of that content even being taught, there are skills that we haven't taught or exposed our kids to when we were teaching ACT or skipping 8th grade math and just jumping right to algebra. So when we're looking at like our forward tests and things like that, they're at least being exposed to a lot more content this year with 8th grade math in than what they would have experienced in past years. The way that feels in the classroom, the last 2 years when we were teaching Algebra for All, I was just really stressed. I didn't know how I was gonna get some of this content taught to our students, and early in the year, we had a lot of shutdown. And I haven't experienced that shutdown with our kids that are in 8th grade math this year, even when skills are hard, because we kind of ebb and flow between heavy algebra skills and then we kind of bounce back to some geometry skills. I'm just finding that there's a little bit more reprieve and we can say, okay, this was a hard unit and now this one's kind of an easier, more conceptually attainable unit. And so we just see a lot more lift and boost and like restart on students learning that next unit in the classroom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Better reception in regards to the students, right? And that in math. I remember when you had presented about this. And then one of the things we had that conversation last time when we presented in regards to the trackway, I think we talked about, is there ability for students to jump back and forth between the two if you were recognizing? What have you seen so far? Has the students been establishing one trackway to stay, or have you seen jumps from one to the next?
we did have a student try out the 7-8 pathway, and then they did pull out actually mid-year here. And it was probably the best choice for that student too, that at least they had their opportunity, even though they weren't, it wasn't through teacher recommendation, but they had the opportunity to try it. And then we had the opportunity to pull back and say, okay, this is maybe our better fit for us, for whatever reason it was at that time. So we didn't have that flexibility before. I know looking at a couple single cases and scenarios, like 6th graders coming in, some parents are already we're asking questions about things being too easy, and we were at least able to say, well, maybe you weren't on the grade skip track this year, but next year we can put you in that 7-8 compacted, which is really probably a really great fit for that student. And we didn't have to be creative in saying, how are we skipping a whole year of content for our students? So it just offers so much flexibility for movement.
That's one thing that I was concerned about, like, let's just say, with children and their lives, if 1 year is a difficult or challenging year, whatever it is that might happen at home, that just poses challenges for them, but then the next year after that, they're in a different place, so they would have the opportunity to jump if they're able to do so. I just want to make sure that was the case.
I've experienced a lot of that in the past with our previous structure, that we didn't have that flexibility, so we're always working hard to make opportunities possible. And I don't think not that we won't work hard to make any opportunity, but I think this offers more flexibility, that finding the right time to do it is there for more students than we had before.
That's great.
Well,
That's good to hear.
Yeah,
Very exciting.
absolutely.
Thank you.
And actually looking at these numbers for the percentages for the geometry, algebra in 8th grade, it might just be that it's just more accurate this year, because you're getting those higher scores, so maybe they're being placed in the position that they should be. Even if you're looking at a percentage dropping from 20 to 12, maybe it is just 12% that should be on that path, for example.
So
I think that's,
And if they're succeeding and have that groundwork established, then maybe it should be 12, and there's nothing wrong with that when you're getting the end results being
I think one
as
of the
positive as they are.
nice ripple effects of this change is how it's opened up the conversation that we're having with our 3-5 schools about how are we recommending this course sequence. And they didn't hear the feedback previously of, wow, now they get to they get to high school, and it's just so removed. And it's not that, they didn't care about that, it's just they didn't have that perspective. So Barb was able to meet with some of our 3-5 math representatives and talk about like what can that sequencing look like, as well as like it lifts something off their shoulders to know that there are more opportunities for kids when they get to North. It's not a one and done this one point. So I think it lifts some of that stress of making sure that, you know, it's got right and we get everybody in, and also like lets them know that it's okay, that, you know, not rushing everyone through is not the goal.
Right.
It's making sure that we're finding the right fit for every student.
And that can be demonstrated at any time, it doesn't have to be at those specific siloed chunks, you know, we can advance at all different paces.
Well, that's great.
Thank you.
All right, now.
Very good.
Well, thank you.
That was really
Thank
good.
you very much.
Can't wait to hear about you next year. I mean, it's gonna be awesome, I hope.
No one's over up from here.
All right.
Yeah, that's right, it's in a good place, so it'll be great to see our math data moving forward.
I agree with that, yeah, I can see that.
need to get our reading.
So now moving on, now it's Phoenix.
Yeah,
Phoenix time.
Phoenix time, so yes, I think this is probably the third time that the high school has brought Phoenix time information. The first time was a couple of years ago when they did an initial, you know, like request to make this shift, and then 1 year out, and now 2 years out. So I did foreshadow with Committee Chair Stuland that moving forward, unless there are big shifts, I wouldn't anticipate us bringing this forward again, because I feel like it is pretty well established as kind of the way we do business now in high school.
Okay.
So, but 2 years out, we wanted to report again, check in.
Why not, right?
Yeah. But I think there have been some shifts, so
Okay,
it's
all
good
right.
to hear kind of where we're.
All right, so let's hear it.
Phoenix time is like the one thing we can talk about at the high school that everybody like loves.
Yeah.
Students,
Yeah.
teachers, we're all Phoenix time training at the high school. The pieces so the statistics that I've got for you, the piece that we're really proud of is that 12.5% requests are high level teacher requests, and that was compared to 8% last year. So teachers are requesting students more. And then down from that, teacher groups, so teachers creating groups, could be AP study group, it could be a retest group, it could be a small group. It's doubled, it was like 5,600 to 11,000 specific groups this year. And that was, I did a look from September to April on both years to keep the data similar. So overall, those teacher requests have doubled. The thing that has not changed is students making no teacher selection. So Phoenix time will push you to equate everybody as best as possible if you don't make a selection. And that's been at 38%, and that just has not budged. So, but I talked with Andy Farley over at Brookfield East, and they had their time before us, and they've seen the same thing over time too. So, but we do have what I would say are just more and more novel uses of Phoenix time. The AP review, test review sessions, something that's always been popular. We've had this year ACT strategy sessions, so our curricular chairs have put on specific ACT strategy sessions in the auditorium for students to be able to come to. We limited those to juniors this year, and we're going to expand that next year even more so. Academy meetings are happening, so if academies need to have all the kids come together, they meet together. We've got scholarship writing committees or clinics, test makeup sessions, one-to-one student help. Our school counselors pull entire classes into auditorium during that time too. It's just a really nice time to do that without impacting regular classroom time. And then our special education teachers really love that time because they can pull their students and conduct whatever kind of special design instruction they need to during that time also. Guest speakers, we've had our school board members do that before too, which has been wonderful. College reps come in during that time too, but the guest speakers allows us to provide it to all of our students. And that was really what we had sold bringing in Phoenix time, is that this is something that every student can access and use. And our students oftentimes do, and the ones who don't, we pull them into Phoenix time, they don't have a choice in that matter. But our teachers are more savvy at using that, it's an expectation too. I'll send out our DNF lists, our teachers will look at those too, and they'll start to pull those students in, so. So it's been nothing but a wonderful tool for us. And the neat thing also is we're gonna be using our efficiency software, the software we use for Phoenix Time for our career day too, for our students to select their four choices. So we're using that for even more things at this point too, so. But yeah, it really has become what we do at the high school at this point. I could not imagine going back. People would be pretty upset.
No, I've heard a lot of positive things, especially like for the students before, because I remember with my girls, sometimes when they needed extra help and it didn't fall in the same time frame as the teachers, like, it just wouldn't work, and it'd be before and after, and they had, other activities, so this is really beneficial, and again, nothing but positive things about it, so it was really good change.
Can you give me some examples of teachers creating group requests, like what kind of groups, like
So-
certain levels or?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
say a teacher grades an essay and 10 of the kids do poorly on it, they might pull that 10
Okay,
in
so-
to reteach a specific thing.
Yeah.
It could be directly for a test review, specific to a couple
That's
different
great.
students who did poorly before. Sometimes they'll do a test review and they'll open it up to anybody, but they'll have 5 kids that are like, okay, you need to come to this
Yeah, like
test
the
review.
main, yeah.
And it's nice too because it
Yeah.
looks like they just signed up for it too.
Mhm.
Kids, they wanna be a little anonymous with those things also, but for some of our kids who are doing poorly in classes, they are pulled into the Phoenix Time to be retaught those materials too, so.
Yeah, wonderful.
It's great.
Yeah, and the fact that it's doubled, I think, like you had said, people are learning how to use it.
Yep.
And I think eventually the students will see the benefit of that too and wanna capitalize on getting some of that one-on-one attention or extra guidance. So hopefully that becomes the case and that 38%, changes, but
I've seen teachers use it in the classroom too, where at the end of the class, they're going through an assessment and they're saying, okay, if I call your name, I'm signing you up for Phoenix Time for the next, the kids it's just an extension of class at this point in some of the classes. So we're trying to even build that up more so in all of our staff members too.
Yeah.
We still got, I think, some areas for growth there, but I think we've made some really nice leaps since the beginning of it, so.
And it's just not all academic too, like for
Right,
example, I
exactly.
remember, I mean, I've brought in numerous speakers for the ARI club and stuff, and that's a nice 40-minute for a speaker to come in, so it's just really flexible time frame.
Yeah, that flexibility is the key.
It's being used for many different things, so I like it.
Yeah, that's a good chunk of time to use for that too.
It's just long enough.
Yeah,
Yep.
just right, yeah.
Just long enough.
Well, very good.
Yeah,
Any
thank
other-
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love it.
Appreciate it. All right, well, that's your last presentation about Phoenix Time for a while. You just want to share some new information.
Hey, we'll talk about Phoenix Time all the time.
Yeah, right?
No, I think we're good.
It's a feather in your cap, right? Like, it's a good thing to talk about.
it is, yeah.
Okay, and then moving along, committee calendar.
Yeah, just a brief update. Obviously, we have some pilot recommendations coming up on the 17th. And then we have items planned for May, June, and summer, but we'll need to, once we've had our board reorganization and kind of reset our committees for the next year, then we would set a May meeting date. So, but we will have a full agenda when we get to that point.
Keep on
And
trucking.
nothing new or different than what we've talked about previously.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Good deal. Any questions or comments? Wow.
That year went by really fast.
No kidding. I know. We really made this a nice meeting. It's making up for the 17th.
Exactly. This is a 2 meeting month. So we
Yeah,
don't
2
do that
meeting
very
month.
often,
Yeah, that's why,
so-
right?
Right.
He was bringing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Are you gonna have some food for the next meeting?
Yeah, there you go.
I think we should make it a food night. We should.
We may be here.
I think the 17th and then maybe Monday as well for finance.
Oh.
You have a big fun, get somebody.
finance is a heavy lift.
Well, one can be a meal, one can be dessert.
All
So,
right,
I'm
here we
ready to
go.
go.
yep, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
I have a motion.
I will second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, great. Oh, and the next meeting is, well, we know, you said that, so we're good.
Yes.
I'm half awake today.
The camera's on.
Oh, yeah, camera's still on.